Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight for the 6 Weeks to Self-Publish webinar. I am so excited to be here and to facilitate this workshop to help you accomplish your goal of finally getting that book out of your head and onto paper and becoming a self-published author. My name is Nikola Ahaiwe, and I'm the founder of Mogul in the Making, an online resource dedicated to motivating, inspiring, and empowering entrepreneurs. I work primarily with female solopreneurs to help them get clear on their message, find their authentic voice, and create a strategic marketing plan to position themselves as the go to expert in their fields. I am also a motivational speaker and author of Unleash Your Inner Mogul, your guide to building the business and lifestyle that you desire and deserve. Tonight, we're going to cover a lot of information, so I hope you have a pen and paper ready to take a lot of notes. And unfortunately, we only have an hour together, so it's not much time to cover everything, but I will be sharing a lot of information and tips. And I will also be releasing the details of my brand new e-course that will be launching of the same name, 6 Weeks to Self-Publish. Now, in this webinar, you're going to learn the self-publishing secrets, what I wish I knew before publishing my first book, strategies to get it done, how to increase how to get those ideas out of your head and finally get your book completed in just 6 weeks, the step-by-step process to write, self-publish, promote, and profit as an author, the advantages of self-publishing over traditional publishing, and if we have time, I'll cover exactly how much it will cost to get your book self-published. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask a few things from you. If you have questions that you would like answered during the webinar, tweet me using the hashtag 6Weeks to Self-Published on Facebook. Also, if I say anything that resonates with you or that you find to be a great tip, please hop on Facebook and share the tip using the same hashtag, 6Weeks to Self-Publish. Also, I will reserve time at the end for Q&A, and I will do my best to get all of your questions answered in case you're not on Facebook, you're not near your computer, because some people are listening in via phone. So a little bit about me. Without further ado, we're going to get this thing started. I wanted to start out with a little backstory about me and about my journey to where I am now. For those of you on this webinar that may not be familiar with me or my story, I like to say that I sort of fell into what I am currently doing, becoming a speaker, writing a book, and teaching other entrepreneurs how to start and grow their businesses. It's not exactly what I had planned. So let me quickly give you the backstory. In December of 2012, I was laid off from my quote unquote secure corporate job at one of the biggest entertainment studios in the world. In fact, my entire team was laid off. We were only given a couple of weeks' notice about the pending layoff, so everyone was in a mad scramble to find another job. I mean, how are we going to support ourselves and our families? How are we going to pay our bills? The layoff came at the worst possible time for me because I had just purchased my home 4 months prior. I'm a single parent. I mean, the list goes on and on. But anywho, we were offered a pretty nice severance package. So while everyone was in a mad dash to find another secure corporate job, again, quote unquote, and I hope you can hear the sarcasm in my voice, I decided that this was God's way of pushing me to do what I had been dreaming of for years, which was to become my own boss. I had actually already laid the groundwork because in 2010, I started my own wedding and event planning business as my side hustle. Now, I have to admit, I was not as committed to it as I should have been. I mean, it was really hard for me to juggle working full time, being a full time single mom, and running a business. So, my side gig always took a backseat to other priorities. I did a few weddings here and a few events there, but it was nowhere near a replacement to my current job. But when I was laid off, I decided that instead of looking for another secure job, I would take a leap of faith and pursue my entrepreneurial dreams. And I went at it full force, learning everything that I possibly could about how to market and grow a business. I took classes, bought programs, attended networking events. I read every piece of information accessible to me. I was determined to make my business a success so that I would not have to return back to the 9 to 5 life where I was just miserable. So I was so proud of myself because I had made it almost a year without having to go back to work. But then the unthinkable happened. One day while returning home from dropping my daughters off at school, I was in a really bad car accident. I was struck by 2 cars before spinning out and hitting a light pole. And the impact from the accident caused a lot of physical damage, the most major being like a completely shattered ankle. I'm talking surgery to try to piece the bones back together. I had to wear a metal contraption on my leg for months. I don't know if you're friends with me on Facebook, but you've probably seen the huge metal contraption that I had to wear on my ankle. And I was told I would not be able to walk for at least 4 to 6 months if I was ever able to walk again. So needless to say, I was devastated about that. My entire business consisted of physical activity. So the first 3 months were the longest and the hardest of my life. And trust me when I tell you, you never realize how much of a role walking plays in your life until you can't do it anymore. As the months went on, I was bored out of my mind. I mean, not only could I not walk, but I barely left the house because it was a big production to do so. I was slowly losing my sanity and I needed to do something quick. So that's how Mogul in the Making was born. I decided that I could use all of the information, the resources, and the tools that I had learned and implemented in my event planning business and teach others how to market their businesses. It was something that I had already envisioned myself doing, but I didn't plan on doing it until much further down the line. I also realized that I had a very inspiring story to share. One of perseverance, determination, and the will to overcome obstacles to achieve success and live life on my own terms. So I like to say that God had a different plan for me, and that if it were not for such severe circumstances, I wouldn't be here today hosting this webinar to teach you how you too can write and self-publish your very own book. So let's just dive right in. So the first thing I want to discuss are some of the things that I wish I knew prior to writing my first book. Now, I think it's important to note here that I sat on the idea for Unleash Your Inner Mogul for about 2 to 3 years. Yeah, that's a long time. I mean, I knew that I wanted to write a book, but I was so intimidated by the thought of it all. I told myself so many self-defeating things. Who are you to write a book? No one knows who you are, so why would they listen to you or buy from you? You have no idea what you're doing, so why would you attempt to write a book? I mean, that little voice inside my head was being a mean, nasty-spirited little thing, I tell you. It was definitely a mental block that I had to overcome. So the first thing that I wish I knew before self-publishing my book was that you don't have to have a big publishing company behind you. And I'm going to be honest, I was very misinformed when it came down to the knowledge about self-publishing. I honestly thought that I would have to go through the very daunting process of submitting query letters and book proposals and finding someone or a company that would be willing to back little old me. And going back to that nagging voice inside of my head, I kept asking, who are you to want to write a book? Who is going to be willing to finance your project if you're not a big name like Oprah or Martha Stewart or any other big name female powerhouse, But you know what? The reality of it is the literary field has changed so much, and it's getting harder and harder to score a book deal. Those ones that you've heard of where people receive a nice, hefty advance check on top of royalties. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it isn't possible. But if you are not yet at the level where you're pretty well known or have a very large social media following, etc., it'll be a bit more challenging. For me, I couldn't fathom the thought of receiving rejection letter after rejection letter and possibly having my spirit crushed or getting down in the dumps because no one could see my vision. So that was a large part of what took me so long to even get started with my book project. But I was seeing several of my entrepreneur peers release their books, and I wondered, well, how the heck were they getting these book deals? I thought there had to be some sort of secret in that I didn't know about or something. So one day I saw a fellow entrepreneur post something on Facebook about self-publishing her book and preparing for the big release. And I didn't know her too well. We conversed here and there on social media, but on a whim, I decided to reach out to her. And she was very nice and told me that she self-published her book, and she gave me the name of the platform that she used. And I was like, say what? Is it really that simple? Do you mean that I don't have to find a publisher? Like, I can do this on my own? And that one brief conversation completely changed my world. I mean, it was on from that point. I could now move forward with something that I have been envisioning for years, but literally had no idea how to move on. So you don't have to have a big publisher behind you. You can totally do it yourself. And the best part is you can establish your own publishing company, which means what? You retain all of the rights to your work and more of the money, right? Sounds good. The second thing that I wish that I knew and that really held me back is the process isn't as difficult as you think. No, don't get me wrong, writing a book definitely comes with its own set of challenges, but after going through the entire process, I can definitely say that it was not as difficult as I thought it would be. Actually, getting the book finished was probably the hardest part, but again, a lot of it had to do with mental blocks that I had to overcome. There were times when I would get stuck and couldn't write for days. There were times when I convinced myself that everything that I had written sucked and no one would take me seriously as a writer. There were times when I wanted to give up because, dang it, the process was taking way too long and I just wanted it to be over. I felt I was in way over my head and I didn't want to think about it anymore. But again, these were all mental blocks that I had to work past. And once I was able to get my emotions in check and remind myself of my purpose, the reason that I decided to write the book in the first place, how I knew my story would help others who've experienced what I did and needed that motivation, needed a feel-good story of triumph or overcoming obstacles, etc. I was able to get more into my writing groove. So things started to flow a lot better and I was finally able to get the writing aspect done. Number 3 was it doesn't have to take years to complete. In fact, it doesn't have to take nearly as much time as it took me to get my book done from start to finish. First of all, it took me as long as it did to get started because I automatically assumed that it was going to be a long ride to complete a book. I think going into it with that frame of thought contributed to the long drawn out time frame of getting it done. When you go into something expecting the worst, expecting it to take a long time, that's pretty much what you're going to get. It took about 2 years from the time I actually sat down to write Unleash Your Inner Mogul to the time that I was holding the actual tangible book in my hands. Why, oh why did it take so long, you ask? Well, for those of you who have already started writing your book, I'm sure you can relate. Writer's block is the killer. Okay? And the need for perfection will slow you down tremendously and sometimes completely halt you. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record when I say mental blocks. No real plan, no structure, not taking it serious enough. Honestly, I have a million reasons, excuses, I should say excuses instead, why the process took so long. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't have to take 2 years. Which brings me to my next topic. How do you get it done? And is it really possible to do it in just 6 weeks? The short answer is yes. You can totally get your book completed in 6 weeks. Keyword, if you have the proper plan in place and you work your plan. You know the famous saying, plan your work, then work your plan. So the very first thing you'd want to do is set a deadline. When exactly do you plan to birth this baby? Write the date down on a piece of paper or post-it note somewhere that is visible, where you can see it often and where it will serve as a constant reminder that this is the date that you plan to release your vision into the world. But not only that, you want to make sure that you treat it like any other important deadline in your life. You know, like it's the last day to pay your light bill before the light company shuts them off. You know, but like you have a mandatory, absolute, can't miss or you'll be fired at work type of deadline. Treat it as such. Remind yourself of it often and make a commitment to yourself that you will not miss this deadline. You will not procrastinate. You will make this a priority and you will get it completed. Second thing you want to do, set a daily word count. How many words will you commit yourself to writing daily? Can you do 1,000, 2,000? But what you need to note here is that there is no magical or correct number of words because it really depends on how long or short your book will be. The most important thing is that you make a commitment that you will stick to, that you will not slack on. One that is realistic and can truly fit into your schedule. One that you will make work into your schedule. Even if that means waking up early, going to bed late. For those of you that still work, maybe writing on your lunch break, or if you have a full load of clients or just a really busy schedule, you actually pencil the time in on your calendar to knock it out. Remember, make it a priority just as you would anything else. Number 3. Okay, so one of the best strategies that I found to get it done was to do a brain dump. And I know some of you are out there like, what the heck is a brain dump? Well, here's the gist of it. It's basically getting all of the thoughts out of your head. It's literally just writing any and everything that comes to mind. No matter how it sounds, no matter how unorganized it is, it can be complete mumble jumble. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you clear your mind. You write down everything you know, every bit of information, facts, thoughts, ideas, characters, whatever. Get it onto paper. Now here's the important part. Your brain dump is not to be edited. This is essentially like your first draft. And let me tell you a little something about your first draft. It's gonna suck. Okay? Let's just get that out there now. It's going to be horrible. You are going to hate it. You are going to doubt yourself and wonder what the heck you were thinking to try to write a book. You're going to want to throw your computer against the wall or out the window. It's going to be overly dramatic. Trust me, I've been there, wrote the story on it. It's going to be a scene straight out of an insane asylum. But that is what is meant to happen. Brain dumps and first drafts are not meant to be pretty. They are not meant to be perfect. Leave that to the editing process, which will come later. Start writing and just keep going. Don't get hung up on every word, sentence, phrase, paragraph, punctuation, etc. Don't get caught up on any of that. Just write. And write some more. Write until you have absolutely nothing left to write. Completely dump everything you have into this part of the process. Now, this is where most people get stuck and frustrated and ultimately give up. They're expecting perfection, and it just doesn't happen that way. The magic happens in the rewrite. Okay? If you don't write anything else down, if you don't take anything else from this lesson, remember that. The magic happens in the rewrite. Keep that in mind. It's not supposed to be good the first time around. I don't think there is one single author out there that will tell you that their very first draft was perfect or anything near what they actually finished with. Again, the magic happens in the rewrite. Write that down, store it in your mind, repeat it 1,000,000 times. A brain dump, let it all flow. Okay? So I really hope you've been taking notes, but if you haven't, I'm telling you that I'm about to give away the golden nugget, okay? The secret weapon that helped me overcome my hump and get my book written was, drumroll please, talking it out. Number 4, talking it out. Now, I tend to write exactly how I speak. I want my readers to feel the emotion behind what I write. And sometimes that emotion can get lost in translation when you're jotting things down on paper. So what I would do is take out my cell phone, stand or sit in front of the mirror, start the voice recorder on my phone, and simply talk about the subject that I was writing about. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but let me give you an example. Have you ever written a report for school for an oral presentation and you typed up pages and pages and you just knew that when you got up to read the report, you would be up there for 5 or 10 minutes or however long the presentation was going to be, only to realize once you got to the end, you've been talking for about 2 minutes. Well, on the flip side of that, when you speak about a subject, let's say you stand in front of that mirror and you talk on the subject for about 5 minutes. When you translate that dialogue onto paper, you will be so surprised how many words you fit into that time frame. You will be shocked. Once I started doing this, I was hitting my daily word count with absolutely no problem. My voice recorder became my best friend. Anytime an idea hit or I thought about something regarding my topic, I would bust out my little handy phone, flip on the recorder, and start talking away. There were times when I was driving, in my daily morning walks, literally whenever inspiration hit, I took advantage and spilled it all out onto the recorder. Then I would simply write it all down. Again, not taking time to edit anything, just writing exactly how I spoke, whatever I said. This, my friends, was a major game changer for me. It helped me overcome my writer's block because it is so much easier to talk it out, to hear yourself speaking the words, feeling what you're saying, as opposed to just sitting in complete silence trying to think of what to write next. I think pretty much every phone has a voice recording capability, but if for some reason your phone does not, you will definitely want to invest in a voice recorder, which I would assume is really not expensive at all. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can also download voice recording software on your computer, such as Camtasia, if you use a PC, or simply Google other voice recording software. But I cannot stress enough how much this helped me. I struggled so much in the beginning with hitting my word count, but once I started talking it out, I'm telling you, it was a breeze. So definitely try it and see if it works. So let's talk about the process of getting your book done from beginning to end. Now, if I can give you one piece of advice for those of you that have not yet written your book, and even those of you that are already working on it or have completed their book, is this. Okay? It's very, very important that you create your marketing plan, preferably before you finish your book. But if not before, definitely do it as soon as possible. Again, if you have already written your book and you want to get the word out about it so that people will buy, because we all want people to purchase our books, right? You need to create a marketing plan, and it needs to be very strategic, meaning there is a strategy and a reason behind everything that you do and every decision that you make. And I'll tell you why. You could write the best book ever. I'm talking Pulitzer Prize, multi-award winning novel. But if no one knows that your book exists, you're doing your audience a great disservice. There are people out there that are looking for what you have to offer or are ready to read the type of book that you've written. It is your job to make sure that those people know about you and your work. So that's just a little pre-work before you really begin. But here's the step-by-step process. So number one is to determine your market. Who are you writing this book for? Who do you want to purchase it? Now, that's not to say that everyone can't purchase it. But when it comes to marketing your book, which we'll cover in just a sec, you need to know exactly who you are targeting. Male or female? What's their age range? What type of books are they currently reading? This is important because it will play a huge part in the tone of your writing. You'll want to speak their language. You'll want to reflect that in the way that you write, what you say, and how you phrase things. Okay? So number one, determine your market. Number two is create a strategic marketing plan. And I know we just talked about it, but you know, the first thing you want to do is kind of create a buzz, but you definitely want to create that marketing plan. Once you've determined who you're writing for, it's time to decide how you are going to get your book in front of them. And this is a common mistake that I see people make. They wait until after the book is finished before coming up with a solid plan to market it. Think about it this way. You don't want to invest a lot of time, money, energy, etc. into your project, only to hear crickets when it is released. I'm sure the whole point in writing and releasing a book is to have people buy it and read it. So don't push marketing to the wayside. Marketing is the lifeline of any business. And once you become an author, if you're not using your book to promote the business that you already have, you essentially become a business owner. You now have a product to sell. And whether you consider yourself to be an independent author or your own publishing company or however you decide to spin it, you are now a business owner and you have to treat it as such. So you'll have to be very strategic about how you go about getting the word out about your book. Now, part of this will come from generating a buzz about your book before it is even released. And the absolute last thing you want to do, especially if you are not already known as an author, is to just drop a book completely out of nowhere and expect people to buy it. I mean, let's be real here. We are not Beyonce. We cannot drop a book, or in her case, it was an album, but we cannot just release something and have millions of people purchasing it and raving about it on social media, going viral and all that good stuff. It takes time to build that sort of following, that sort of loyalty and support from your fan base or your client base. So your goal is to start building the buzz and the hype and anticipation before your book is released. Keyword, before. To give you an example, I'll tell you what I did. When I decided to write Unleash Your Inner Mogul, I figured that I needed to build a platform or community of people that knew about it and would be eager to purchase it when it was released. So the way that I decided to do that was to share my journey by giving sneak peeks and behind the scenes footage, if you will, of the process. I harnessed the power of social media to keep my friends, family, clients, whoever updated on where I was in the process. I mean, I literally documented the entire process from beginning to end. I shared when I started the process. I posted pictures of the late nights I spent typing away. I even shared the mishaps that occurred along the way. And some of you who are on the webinar tonight may recall the time I lost my flash drive that contained the entire written draft of my book, and I hadn't backed it up anywhere else. And the outpouring of support and encouragement I received during that time was astounding. And it showed me that people were actually invested in this thing with me. They were rooting for me. They were cheering me on and genuinely concerned and actually waiting for me to finish this thing. And luckily, I ended up finding my flash drive. Whew, thank goodness. But that whole ordeal showed me that I did the right thing by opening myself up and building that rapport with my tribe. These people were literally waiting for the book to be released because they wanted to support my efforts, mainly because it felt as though they were a part of the process. So building that buzz was all a part of my marketing strategy. It was intentional. It was thought out, and it was just a small piece of the overall marketing pie. So once I released the book, having a stream of ready and willing buyers or supporters helped me get the footing I needed to start building social proof. So I had people buying the book. I shared photos of happy customers receiving their book, and every single time I shared a photo of someone purchasing the book, I made more sales. So that is why I say it is absolutely imperative that your marketing strategy is placed at the top of your list rather than the bottom. Okay? The next step is to write that book. Write it. Get it done. Okay? So you've thought about who you are writing for. and you've come up with a plan to get it in front of those people. Now it's time to get down to the nitty gritty and get that book out of your head and get the words flowing onto paper. And like I mentioned earlier, this is the part where people get held up the most, oddly enough. They have a concept in their head, but for some reason, they get intimidated about the process, just like I did, you know? And I speak with so many people that are interested in writing a book, and I always ask, well, what's holding you back? And the most common things that I hear are, number one, it's too time consuming. I simply don't have the time to get it done. Between working a full-time job or running my business full-time and dealing with a full client load or other obligations such as family, school, just whatever, there just isn't enough time. Another thing is I don't know what to write about, or I don't think I have enough knowledge or information to fill a book. And the third thing that I hear the most is I have no idea where to start. And you know what my response is? Just get started. Just get started. That's what I tell everyone. Just open up a blank Word document, or if you're old school, break out a fresh new notebook and a pen and just start writing. You see, some of the previous mentioned quote unquote reasons are, in my opinions, excuses. And please don't kill the messenger, okay? But I call them excuses because I've been there before. Yep. I've used the I'm too busy, it's too time consuming, I don't know what to write about, I don't know enough. I used them all until that one day I decided that it was time. It was time for me to stop making excuses and just do it. I'm not the only single mother in the world. I'm not the only person that runs a business. There are plenty of people that are just like me, that have many things in common with me, and they did it. So why can't I? We can continue to tell ourselves all of the reasons why we can't do something, and we'll always remain in the same position we're in. Why? Because we believe we can't. We've said it to ourselves so much that now we believe it. But the reality is, you can. You can do it. If it is truly something that you want, you'll make the time. You don't know enough? You'll take some time out and do some research. You don't know where to start? Well, you're not on this webinar for nothing, right? You're here because you're ready to learn where to start. There's a solution to every problem, and it's up to you to find it. Okay, moving right along to step number 4, publishing the book. So you did it. Woo! You stuck with it, you committed to your goal, and you completed your manuscript. And if you're anything like me, the first thing you do is get up and you have an impromptu dance party. But in all seriousness, it's time for the next phase, which is getting your book published. Now, this is where your book becomes real. Now, there are a few steps associated with this process. First, you want to have your book edited. And I highly suggest that you don't skip this step, and that you are sure to hire someone else, a professional, to do this for you. Why? Because there is nothing worse than getting your book back, going through it, and realizing all of the mistakes in there. That is not how you want to present yourself to your readers. And trust me, they will call you out on it. You also have to think of the future. If you do a subpar job and decide to write another book, do you think those same readers will purchase from you again? Probably not. Also consider this. Even if you are a great writer, you got all A's in English class, and you're pretty confident in your skills, I would still highly suggest having a second pair of eyes take a look at your manuscript. We tend to be biased towards our own work sometimes, and let's face it, it's possible to overlook things. So hire a professional, okay? Don't leave this task to your mom, your cousin, your best friend, your next door neighbor. No, I mean, unless they are professional editors, but you get what I mean. This is really, really important, guys. I say it's probably one of the most important steps in the process. Now, when researching an editor, you'll not only want to look for someone that can catch all of your grammatical errors, but you'll need someone that can also check for spelling and chronological errors, especially if you're writing a nonfiction book or a fiction book. You know, what happens when? Does my storyline follow an accurate timeline? Let's say the story began in 1995 when your character was 11 years old and it ended in 2015. But now your character is an 80-year-old man, a grandfather, etc. The timeline doesn't match up, right? According to your story, the character should be about 30 years old. Now that's an extreme example, but you get the point. And I know it sounds a little crazy, but you would be surprised how easy it is to get confused or to mix up timelines, the order of your story, etc. So again, that is why it's imperative that you have a fresh set of eyes or a professional review what you've written. Step number 5, promote, promote, promote. Now that the hardest part is out of the way, it's time to get to the fun part. This is where you will be doubling back to the pre-work that you should have done in the beginning. Remember we talked about building your buzz and creating a solid marketing plan? Well, now it's time to work that plan and get you to that bestsellers list. Of course, only if that's one of your goals, because not everyone is interested in making the bestsellers list. So, what are some of the things you can do to promote your new release? There are so many things that you can do, and unfortunately, I don't have enough time to go over all of them. However, I'll give you a few ideas. But an important thing to note is you do not have to do them all. Okay? I repeat, you do not have to do them all. You need to choose what feels right for you, what aligns with your message or brand, and things that complement each other and fit well into your overall strategic plan. Keyword here is strategic. You want to make sure that there is a strategy behind what you're doing. Everything should be done to serve a specific purpose and have a specific outcome that you hope to achieve as a result. So you definitely want to have some sort of pre-sale launch to get the ball rolling. Okay? If you have an email list, and if you're already a business owner, you should have an email list, right? If not, you'll want to get moving on that right away. But if you have an email list, make sure you send out an email blast to your tribe, your community. And not just one email. Don't just, as I like to call it, hit it and quit it. Okay? But make sure you are staying in contact with them, keeping them posted along the way, and also providing some sort of value or things of interest to them. Not just buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Okay? And I'm not going to get too deep into email marketing. That is a whole different webinar. But tell your community about your book. Obviously, you'll want to add it to your website if you have one already. If not, create a website specifically devoted to your book. Okay? Book speaking engagements related to the topics of your book to spread your message. Raise awareness about you and your brand. Set up a book signing or, if possible, a multi-city book tour. You can reach out to media outlets, blogs, radio shows, podcasts, television, news shows. Reach out to them about being featured. They're always looking for new stories and new things to feature. So reach out to them. I mean, I could go on, but again, I can't stress this enough. Create a strategic plan, then work your plan. Do not let your marketing fall to the wayside or leave it up to chance. The worst thing you could do would be to guess as you go. A good marketing strategy and plan will make all the difference in whether your book will be successful or not. Okay? So, as an entrepreneur, what are the benefits of writing a book? Well, one of the major benefits is that it can help to catapult you into expert status. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me put it to you this way. When I started my coaching business, I was a virtual nobody. No one really knew who I was, and honestly didn't know why they should hire me. So I wanted to do something that would give me an edge over my competition. I also wanted to show that I knew my stuff. Okay? Selling a service is a lot more challenging than selling a product because a service is intangible. You can't hold it, touch it, see it, feel it, you know? So having a book did two things for my coaching business. It made people feel as though they could trust me because after all, if I were able to write an entire book on a certain subject, well, I must be pretty knowledgeable about it, right? So it kind of gave me that expert status. Similarly, it gave me instant credibility. Again, in order to fill the pages of a book, and if it's nonfiction, I should say, uh, you have to be really knowledgeable about a subject. And you have to have done your homework or your research to know what you're talking about. You just seem to be a more credible source. So once I released Unleash Your Inner Mogul, I was featured on the Huffington Post. I was booked to teach workshops on social media, blogging, digital marketing, etc. I became a motivational speaker. I mean, so many more opportunities opened up to me just as a result of writing a book or becoming a published author. So now, am I saying that you cannot do these things without writing a book? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that it gives you a competitive edge over your peers or your competition. People are now believing in you. You are credible in their eyes. Okay? Number 3, as I mentioned before, if you only sell a service, you now have a tangible product to add to your repertoire as well. And this means more revenue. Yep, another income stream. And we're all about multiple income streams, right? You are thinking of ways to add more dollar signs to your bottom line. Yes, you should be. So in addition to selling them on your website or through Amazon, etc., you can become a vendor at events in your niche and sell your book. Or if you are a speaker or a workshop presenter, you can upsell to your book. You know, there's so many benefits and so many additional ways to make money as a result of becoming a published author. And number 4, it allows you to reach more clients. It's a way for you to reach more clients. Again, all that I've already mentioned: increased opportunities, more visibility, presenting yourself as an expert, possibly speaking and or teaching on a certain topic. All of these things open you up to reaching more people, attracting more clients, and so on and so forth. And lastly, what can you write? Now, this is mostly for the business owners on the webinar that maybe have thought about writing a book and know that it can help them propel their business forward, but they're simply not sure how to tie it all together. Or maybe you're not an entrepreneur, but writing a book has crossed your mind and you look at it as a way to become an entrepreneur and are still unsure of what to write. So some of the choices are a how-to book. What is it that you know how to do really well that you could teach others? Are you a chef and can teach through a cookbook? Are you a coach or a business owner and can share your knowledge and teach others how to start or grow their businesses, maybe in a specific field? Whatever it is that you are extremely knowledgeable about and or maybe passionate about helping others with, you can transform that into a how-to book. Number 2, an autobiography. Do you have an amazing story to share about your life? Will your story touch or inspire others? Maybe consider writing an autobiography. People love a good story about overcoming obstacles or reading about other people's journeys. It makes them feel like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. So an autobiography would definitely be great if you plan on becoming a speaker, or like I said, you have a story that can positively impact your readers' lives. Number 3, a nonfiction book. This can be a book where you've researched a certain topic and are providing in-depth knowledge about the subject or your thoughts or insight about the topic. For example, if you're a health coach, maybe you may decide to write a book about how to lose weight or how to maintain weight loss, what foods to eat, you know. Another type of book would be a case study or a Q&A type of book. And I've seen this work really well for a relationship expert who received countless questions about love, how to find love, how to handle certain relationship situations, etc. So this person compiled some of those frequently asked questions, and I'm not sure if they were exact questions or just made up to answer, general questions that she received often, but she structured it in a cohesive way where she literally answered the questions as if she were having a live face-to-face conversation to answer those questions, while also showcasing her knowledge in her field. So I thought that was a really great idea and a really great way to write a case study sort of Q&A type of book. Moving right along to a research book, which is pretty much a nonfiction book. Again, if you have a certain topic that you can get really in depth with, that perhaps you are knowledgeable about, and you write it as a guide or a sort of resource for someone that needs information on said topic. And of course, you can write a fiction book. More than likely, if you are writing a fiction book, your book will become your business, or it could complement it somehow. For example, someone who works with the youth to teach about self-esteem, bullying, etc., could write a fiction book to accompany their workshops on the subject or to raise awareness about these issues. I don't know. There are so many different things that you can write about. It might just take a bit of brainstorming to figure out what will work best for you or complement your business and your goals. What will complement that well? You just have to think about those things. Whew. Are you guys still with me? I know I'm moving through this pretty fast, but there's just so much to cover and way too much to cram into just an hour. But I hope I was able to answer all or at least most of your questions. Now, I know some of you are probably still feeling a little overwhelmed, a little unsure of whether or not you can actually do this. But the reality of it is, you can do this, just as so many before you have. And I want to help. I am putting together a 6-week online program titled, you guessed it, 6 Weeks to Self-Publish. This will be an e-course. It will be a combination of video tutorials, emails, live Q&As, and you will also be able to get face-to-face time with me. I'm sorry, not face-to-face time, but live phone calls where you will be able to answer any and all questions that you have about the self-publishing process. And I will be releasing this e-course, fingers crossed, it will be releasing next week, and I am just so excited about it. I've been working on all of the workbooks and all of the content for this program, and I have so much to share, and I know that it's going to benefit anyone who is interested and who has been thinking about writing a book forever. It's definitely going to be a game changer, and it's going to be what is going to help them to get this book done. So I'm extending an invitation for anyone who is interested. If you're thinking about signing up for this course, if it sounds like something that you would be interested in, if you could really use some guided help to get your book finished and to get it released and get it self-published, I'm inviting you to set up a complimentary, a free 30-minute call with myself, just to answer any questions that you may have and to give you the full details of the program before it is released. And I will be releasing this at a very special discounted rate for anyone that is on the webinar and that is interested in signing up. So if you are thinking about it, if you would like to know more details, or if you have any additional questions, I invite you to reach out to me via email. And my email address is info@NikolaAhaiwe.com. Once again, that's info@NikolaAhaiwe.com. My name is pretty hard to spell. It's Nikola. The last name is Ahaiwe.com. And for faster response or better response, to get on my calendar, you can log on to www.calendly.com. That's CALENDLY, calendly.com/Nikola Ahaiwe. And you can pick a time. My schedule is on there. My availability is on there. So you can pick a time to chat with me. Again, it's a 30-minute free consultation or a complimentary session where you are able to answer any questions that you have about the course. And if I can answer any questions that I possibly didn't cover on this webinar, I would love to help you. So again, I will be launching the details about the course. But if you want to get in on the ground floor at the special discounted rate, make sure you go ahead and book your appointment with me as soon as possible. And I am looking forward to speaking with each and every one of you and assisting you to get that book published. Thank you so much again for joining me on this webinar, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Okay? Take care.